Hello, welcome or welcome back. My name is Ruby,
My name is Jeff.
and in today's episode, we want to share some surprising and sometimes uncomfortable truths about being a leader in your life and in business or your career, your relationships, and everything in between.
Regardless of the role that you play in your life, acknowledging that you are the leader in that role is the most important thing. Entrepreneur, creator, mother, father, whatever that role is, there's an opportunity to step into greater leadership. And in this episode, we're going to talk about the tools and practices that we embody for ourselves and our own relationship that can help you take your leadership to the next level.
So I think a good place to start would be what does it mean to be a leader and a creator of your life? If you would like to go first.
I was thinking about that when we were discussing the topic for today's podcast. Leadership, I find it can be quite watered down
Mhm.
of a word or something that gets thrown around a lot. And as somebody who's really recognized how two-dimensional my life was before choosing to be the leader in my life,
Mhm.
it's very significant for me to be clear about how I define leadership. And I was thinking about some other words that are around leadership, like authorship.
Mm,
Authorship. It's recognizing that I am authoring
author.
the author of my life. I'm able to write the story in regards to how I behave, how I show up. What speaking about words and authorship, what thoughts am I giving my attention and my energy to? So when it comes to leadership for me, especially like the role I'm playing in my life and how I relate to others, recognizing that I'm here, I'm able to choose my next step in any given moment. Even more importantly than that, I'd say I'm able to influence my own state at any given moment.
Influence is big, yeah.
Yeah, like influencer is
Yeah.
also a leader because somebody of influence, there people are looking to them and probably mimicking them or copying them or trying on the things that the influencer is sharing. So that's a role of leadership. But you got to remember, if you're a mother, if you're a father, if you're somebody running an organization, people are looking up to you.
Hmm.
And there's also a part of you that's looking up to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Like a past or future version of you, like um I can just see the kind of domino effect that like to me, leadership is also being congruent with your word and
Mm,
the domino effect that happens with that, whether it's um, positive or negative, like of the change that you want to make or not. Does
right.
that make sense?
Yeah, well, the integrity,
Yeah.
like you said, my word
Hmm.
is the life I create. It's part of
Hmm.
the life I create.
Big time.
I believe also that we were talking about this in our morning walk. Somebody who lives by their word, that person's going to be much happier,
Hmm.
going to be more content, more fulfilled. This has been my experience. The more I can be clear with my word, and the more I can live by and honor. So if I said I'm going to do something, I do it, or I get even more clear. This it's a huge foundation for a good life.
Absolutely. And for anyone really who is in a place where maybe you've forgotten that you are the leader and creator of your life, and you're in this space of waiting for clarity. This is the, I feel like, invitation for you that you've to step into that leadership and the creator of your life, because when then you're in this place of like life is happening to me, and you're no longer in the driver's seat.
Right. The bystander effect.
Mm.
everything's happening to me. It's the moment where to me, that's self-abandonment.
Mm-hmm.
The moment I realize, oh, I don't have a choice in the matter. Oh, I've got to go along with this narrative. That's what's happening is me not being in alignment with my highest truth. And that will catch up. I feel like that can even manifest over time as, oh, like breakdowns, emotionally, physically, illness that comes in. The more I let myself stay in that place where I'm not consciously choosing to be the leader, to be the influence in my life, it's the ultimate place of stuckness.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that's tricky in being in that place, because I've been in that place, I believe most of us have been in that place where we think it's the world's fault for our experience, and even little bits of that, like that still I still find that showing up in my own programming,
Mm.
and I do my best to pay attention to when that's showing up so that I can rewrite it. But it's tricky because it's its own self-fulfilling
Prophecy.
prophecy.
Yeah.
So it's that much more important to be vigilant and insistent on being the author, even if it feels like it's more work than letting the world happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much more rewarding.
Yeah, it's really important. Like, we've talked about what it means to take ownership of your choices, yeah, and the domino effect that that creates, and the direction in which you are like pointing your energy and your focus. Um, I've wrote some notes so that we can get into like different areas that might resonate for different people,
Hmm.
and some questions too. So let's take a look. We talked about
Waiting for
waiting for
clarity. He
clarity.
keeps.
Um, yeah, why don't we share about like you shared a little bit about your journey for leadership. Is there something a stepping into leadership? Is there like a specific moment that comes to mind, recent or in the beginning, where you knew like, because I think we're always presented chances to step into leadership in different areas.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. There's so many different areas that are coming to my mind. One key one in recognizing my hero's journey and healing myself and also weight loss was such a significant, not only changing my physiology, but also reshaping my identity and how I perceive myself. And that process was I can choose to show up differently because what I had done living, which very much was the like allowing the environment to influence me,
Mm,
got me to be 280 pounds and overweight and not really having this healthy relationship with my body or with food or with
mm,
movement. So that got me to that place. And the leadership is recognizing that, okay, I take responsibility for these choices.
mhm,
And that also means I get to take responsibility for the choices that could undo it. But there's uncertainty there because it doesn't matter. Well, I'll speak for myself. I didn't know. And does it like knowing something only comes after living it and having the direct experience.
mm,
So I could have read all the books in the world about weight loss, but it wasn't going to help me lose weight unless I actually put into practice lifestyle changes. And I did that, and it was so substantial for me to see that if I put energy and action and behavior into what I want to have happen, and it makes sense, it's aligned, I get results. It's like there's nothing more empowering than my choices, my actions, my behaviors can get me towards what I want. And that's how leadership shows up in my own personal life, but also I see it more as an entrepreneur now in business. It's like there's something that I want to move towards. What are the actions and behaviors? And by the way, this is like what's also the thinking that's required
mhm,
to to start to bring that into existence. I also want to say that there was a moment that I was very clear that where there is a will, there's a way.
Hmm.
And I used to feel like I would have the energy to want to go and do something, and I'd maybe be in my friend group and have the initiative. And I would be sure, I would be very clear, like if we want to do this, it's going to happen. And sometimes I'd be the only one that wanted to do that. And I'm like, it's interesting the leadership dynamic of then being the influencer. Like even if it's outside of the crowd, go do it anyway.
Mm.
And
So
that's
you would be the person to
I
go.
would go. I'd go do it. I'd want people to do it. I'd if they wanted to join in, we're gonna do it. But if at the end, if it was just me, it was me.
Yeah, I think that's so important because I remember hearing a lot of people saying things like, "Oh, I want to do this, but nobody wants to do it with me."
Mm,
Or nobody wants to go with me. And I think to a level, like
I can relate to that.
yeah, I can empathize for
Yeah.
it, especially as a woman. Like if when it comes to things maybe like hiking or like initially, yeah, there is some kind of like there is the uncertainty that you were talking about. And at the end of the day, there's this quote too. There was so many good points you shared in terms of like the where there's a will, there's a way, and then doing the thing anyway and doing it messy and doing it alone. Um, yeah, but like I feel like it's in the things that you do when nobody's watching that like
Hmm.
really builds that the confidence and the momentum that everybody wants but isn't willing to put in the work behind the scenes when nobody's cheering them, cheering them on. And yeah, it's a matter. I think that for anybody, like, so I want to speak a little bit to leadership in my experience with it. I mean, there's been many. It's been a long journey, and more recently, I've been stepping more into what I call my power, but what I mean into being the leader and creator of my life, like to another degree. And this most recent kind of layer that I've been exploring has been very interesting because it's taken me back to my childhood because I feel like from when I was a little girl, I've had quite strong leadership qualities, but they weren't nurtured. Like they were seen as like and called like I was called a bossy girl and a know-it-all and things like that. And so I think that that can be too that can be like a shadow side to leadership, like somebody who's maybe like controlling and dominating. But I mean, as a little girl, like I think that's where it was like there was an opportunity for that to be nurtured. So I always kind of like, not always, but I generally towards, I would say in like my teens and early 20s, I strayed away from that because to a degree because I didn't want to be the bossy boss or the know-it-all. And yeah, so yeah, like reconnecting with a leader in me that is, that does take into consideration other
Hmm.
people and is in integrity and all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What really stands out there is there's a few different competing interests. Like there's the desire to be in the tribe and be accepted,
Mm.
which sometimes leaders have to give that up in order to really be in their truth and their authenticity. And I think you're
Hmm.
finding that I've seen you blossom in that way over the years, how you've been willing to show up for yourself even when nobody's cheering you on or when nobody's
Mm.
you've been willing to step into delegation and taking charge of things.
Thank you.
Yeah, and one of the shadow sides of that, I mean, like if we just take a boss who's a leader as an example, like we have all heard stories about people and their bosses. I've I don't have a story. I don't have like a terrible boss story.
Mm.
Probably because I've been the boss
Me
for
too.
most of it. Yeah, so there is. I mean, that's a two-way street. If you have a terrible boss, you're also allowing that for yourself. I know it doesn't seem like there's an option if you feel like I have to keep this job, but you also have to recognize you're choosing to be in that relationship. And I
And to not have certain conversations.
right, like there are conversations that can be had that can bring more integrity and at least more awareness. But I want to say that as a little girl, what you may have triggered in other people
Mm.
is their inability to accept that role within themselves.
Yeah.
Because the other thing is that a leader may end up going it alone because not because they're burning brightly, but also because people are taken aback by the courage or the daring to do that. And it's
Hmm.
like they're like, fine, you risk it. And that leader takes risks
Yeah.
also. So, I mean, there is absolutely the shadow side of leadership where it's a power dynamic and there's abuse there and there's incongruence. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the person that's willing to dare greatly, even if other people think it's crazy, and even if they judge that person for
Because
that.
people are gonna look, people are gonna talk,
Yeah,
whether you're doing
they're going to come to conclusions.
and come to conclusions, whether you're doing something that they agree with or not. So why not do the thing that makes you happy?
Amen.
Yeah. I'm gonna look at my notes again unless you have
No,
anything.
that's good. I love that.
Okay, so another one of the reasons why leadership has been a theme, not, quite prevalent in our conversations and things like that, not just because of business and both of us having hired and delegating things to other people and learning about that. Also, this whole podcast and this whole channel, it has been, what would you call it?
A learning experience.
Yeah, and like a breeding grounds for honoring the leader in each other
Yeah.
because we both have quite strong leadership qualities, which I think is beautiful. And I think that we we work as a team really well in the areas that now we're learning. And I think that this, in the way that this can support others, is if you don't feel like a natural born leader, or like you're in a place where you've forgotten that you are the leader and creator of your life, is like looking at the areas in which your strength, your skills. So that's something that we've practiced. And
Mhm.
um, yeah, I'm wondering if there's anything you want to share about navigating that.
It's been so rich. Two really strong leadership personalities working together. It's a recipe for conflict. I mean, it is. It really is. But it's either going to be like the conflict that burns everything down, or the conflict that
Right.
resolves and creates something really powerful. And we're definitely on the resolution side of that. I mean, even just today, we have a little bit of a different setup in
Mm-hmm.
recording this. That
Mm-hmm.
that I was, it's different for me. And sometimes change, it's just hypocritical, is really what it is. It's like change is great if it's my change, but if it's somebody else and having change, it's like what destabilizing. And then that leadership quality is the ability to practice surrender, keeping my own,
Center.
yeah, center, and also the willingness to try things and to try new things. And what happens a lot with up between us is that you'll introduce something new, and initially there'll be friction from me, and then I'll love it eventually. So I can absolutely adapt
Mm-hmm.
to your leadership. It's what has given us so much more energy and potency in our creating has been the ability to ride that moment of uncertainty and try things. And when you were talking about speaking to the person who maybe you're waking up, you're remembering that you have this, because it feels like a remembering to me. I can literally choose this breath. And what does this breath influence in my life? I can choose this word, these words, where I put my attention, so much to unpack there. When you're remembering this, remember also compassion. Like
Mm-hmm.
remember that it's a practice. And what I recognize is that for as much as I've practiced being a bystander, like that's a lot of practice. I got good at being a bystander for a large part of my life. And when I say bystander, meaning like life is happening to me and I'm not engaging, I'm not uh, thinking for myself and being tuned in with what I want to create in the world. But the past decade, the past almost 15 years, I've really shifted that for myself. But that's still less than half my life. So it's practice. And I imagine 15 years from now, I'm going to be a way better leader than I am now. And I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, those are really important points. And earlier you said about there was something that triggered the word listening, and I think that part of leadership is having the ability to listen deeply and make choices from that place
Hmm.
that moves people, things, experiences forward and better than what they were before.
Hmm.
Yeah. So the listening aspect is a huge one in both leading others and leading yourself. It's like listening to like what is it that I want and taking action or taking some kind of steps towards that.
Hmm. Yeah, the needs, understanding there are primary drivers, motivating drivers and impulses for every human being. It's one of the things that makes us unique. And we are in a world, we're living in a culture, we, like I say, we, you and I, and probably the people who are watching this, living in a culture where it's so difficult to get clear on what's happening internally because there's so much information, there's so many influencers. But the moment you let somebody be an influencer and you give them that power, it's there can be a co-creation in that, but it done from that place of giving them your power, then you're no longer the leader in that
Mm-hmm.
moment. So when there's a bajillion influencers, it's a lot of noise. And that listening, what you're talking about, is the most important. It's a skill to be able to quiet the noise
Mm-hmm.
and be like, what's driving me? What are
Yeah.
my driving forces
Yeah.
that want to manifest through my life? So,
Yeah, it's so important. The example that comes to mind for me, I remember there was a time in my life where, and I think we were talking about this earlier today too, of like questioning or overthinking like what you said, like a
yeah.
conversation. And when I was single and dating, I remember like um, being in in relationships or in connections, and I would say something and I would like second guess. And there was also a point in my life where I would like send screenshots to friends and be like, did I say like does this sound right? Or like, gosh, it's so exhausting. So exhausting. And I remember, and this is what I shared with you earlier, like I remember that with you, it was the first time that I really learned how simple communicating can be, because I had a place and I had been practicing in places that feel safe to
Hmm.
like to be messy, to say the wrong thing and not like be judged and condemned for being human and
Hmm. Hmm.
trying your best to do something different, because it will
Yes.
at the beginning when you're trying on new practices, new things, like you're not going to get it off the bat. And like you said, so the compassion is super important, because what happens is that then we'll realize when we're remembering, like you were saying, we've been practicing the bystander or the victim mentality, like point of view. that I think more often than not, people tend to like then like beat on themselves, like, why did I
Mm,
waste so much time? And it's like that's your same pattern of not being like being able to recognize that that's also not being in
your
leadership,
power.
like
Yeah.
in your power. Yeah, like you're human, you've done it, you probably will do it again, especially if you're trying new things. And so it's yeah, the compassion component of like, okay, if this is what I said I'm going to do, I'm going to, oh, I didn't do it then. Okay, I'm going to do it now. Like letting go of the kind of emotional charge that it has, like over, over, over you.
Yeah. Well, it's for sure a substantial energy drain. I'm having like flashbacks right now of my own way of over analyzing and second guessing. Second guessing is like undermining my being in my center, undermining my authenticity. What will they think instead of what do I think? Of the flashbacks are like high school where I was very self-conscious of my body at the time, and there would just be so many voices in my head going into the locker room or any
Mm.
in any area case where I might need to take my shirt off at the pool or something like that. Just like so many voices in my head about what other people would think, and it's very clear. Like it's very clear. Like that's a machine. That's such a machine that we build up, and it takes the time it needs to take and the awareness required to hear those voices and be able to call them out as just, yeah, this doesn't belong to me. This is just a thought. This thought will pass. And then to be in that practice of, okay, what matters to me?
Mm-hmm.
And to like you said, it can be very clean energy. It can be very relaxing. There's a lot of stress
Yeah.
involved.
And then when it does come to whether it's relationship, friendship, or job, like then it's no longer just you and this one other person. It's like, and like you were saying, the influence. It's like you and everybody else you've asked and opened the door for even more noise to come in. And it's okay to check in with people, but I think definitely creating that listening practice one within yourself, and if you still need somebody who you trust and is stable, then like absolutely, like that's
That's also part of leadership,
yeah,
getting
being
people's
able, absolutely,
feedback
yeah,
and being able to receive.
yeah, big time.
I love that. I love that point. This the being able to receive feedback. Huge, huge that's what a leader does. If a leader's primary objective is to take something and make it better or to grow, be it your own self or a business or a creative endeavor, uh, being able to receive feedback like from people who do it well, is so
Yes.
important instead of taking that personally. Because then like one is leading from ego and the other is like leading from the source, the creative desire. When I'm leading from ego, I'll take something personally really easily, and and when I can start to unravel that, then I'm really leading from the desire to create something beautiful, just for that wants to come through me.
Mm-hmm.
What's one small step? What do you think is one small step our listeners can do to start to be better leaders in their lives?
I would say for them to look at the places in which they already naturally take initiative. So to recognize where they're
Mm.
already being leaders, to give themselves that credit. Because I think it's easy to be, at least for somebody who is hungry to be to be better, to do better, to be a leader, like you'll, I think will tend to go at the things what we're lacking, but that doesn't, as we know, generate more of that momentum. So look at the places where you're already taking the initiative and being a leader. And from that place, like of appreciation for yourself and of recognition that you do have this ability to some capacity, then you can look at an area. I wouldn't say go to the like maybe most heavy area where you want like some drastic change. Like go to one that's like it feels quite neutral for you to be in a like exploratory ground of like, okay, what is it? What would it, how can I translate these skills and qualities into this new area? And then go and do the, you know, translate that slowly into different areas of your life.
You know, you're really good at that. I've seen the people that work with you benefit so much from your ability to like help them call out the areas of their life where they're already doing great things.
Mm.
Because we can have like such a tendency to hyper focus on the wrong things and the negative things and how I'm not a great leader. But at the end of the day, I'm X years old and I made it. I'm leading something. You know, I'm captain of this ship. So, and that's not something a lot of people can say.
Mhm.
So, recognizing that leadership that's already there.
The initiation, the
Yeah,
like the areas that you're already.
work on the garden that's already there.
Mhm.
I love that. What do you think is what's a common mistake on that path of growing as a leader that you find people who are wanting to take more leadership? Like, what's a common mistake that you see or that you sense that it's very valuable to be aware of that?
Uh, Several things are coming to mind, but I would say the first and most common is control masked as leadership.
Wow, control masked as leadership. Wow, that hits.
Masked as leadership. And is there an example or anything that comes to mind? Do you want me to share an example
Yeah, you
or
share. You should totally can share an example if you have one.
I don't have one
Oh,
coming off the top of my head, but if it triggered something for you.
well, just what are the question is what energy am I coming from if I'm trying to control a situation? For me, the
Mhm.
answer is almost universally fear. I'm afraid because I've judged and I've come to a conclusion that if I don't control the situation, it'll end up like this. So already I'm pretending to predict the future. But wow. Yeah, that's what I just had my own mind blowing moment. I've got
The
one. Go for it.
and the other part that comes up for me that I think that a good leader need needs to know when to stop when something has ended. We have talked about this in another recent podcast. So yes, there's the ability to take risks, but another common mistake is that if you do have these more natural leadership qualities, be it in your friendships, like it could be that you're the person who hosts and who gathers and who puts things together, and that is a form of leadership.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are that person that sometimes and if you connect with like how you were saying like the driver, the need, is it coming from a place of control? And if your need is not being met, then that strategy isn't working. So like knowing when to stop and like reassess to because we can you could be a leader, but you can also be like you can easily again this control it ties with the control like you can get into this like make it happen mode and then it loses integrity and yeah
Right, it loses
like
integrity.
yeah.
Well, I bet the moment anything in our human consciousness loses integrity when it's rooted in fear.
Mm-hmm.
And what got me so excited just then was the whole awareness around if I'm operating from fear, then I'm probably projecting a situation into the future. I'm not present.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to ask me, what's one thing you can work on right now is to practice being more present, practice to be more here
Where
right
your feet
now and
are.
yeah, and to respond to the situation, to ask questions about the situation, to breathe into the situation and regulate, like to be, this is when we say like be in your center. It's like slow. It's slow motion. It's not I have to it's not fighting for my life. It's presence.
I love that
Yeah.
so much because I think that with how fast the world is moving, I think that leadership now it's quite very like reactive.
Yeah. Presence.
Yeah, presence.
So, with all of this that we have shared, I'm sure you've had time to reflect on your own life. The question for you is, and we very much are interested to know and support, What areas of your life are you feeling called into deeper leadership? What areas could benefit from deeper leadership from you, more of your own presence? If you give a few breaths to that, what does that look like for you? Put it in the comments below. Share with us. We love to engage and connect with you. And we're very excited to see how this conversation has influenced your journey.
Thank you so much for being here, for choosing to tune in and listen, for being an engaged leader and member of this community. If you got anything from this video or any of our videos, we would love it if you like, share, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you on the other side in another video.